Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 213 of the Sixth Axis podcast. That's Peter. I am your host, Chris Lipscomb. Joining me this week is I don't know, what should I call you, Kev? What should I be called this week? What am I going for?
Seagull Whisperer.
The Seagull Whisperer, Kev Adset. And also with us this week is the tallest man in games journalism. It is, of course, Vaughn Highfield. You're right, Vaughn.
Hey, you're right. How you doing?
Hello.
You are just like, I've forgotten how tall you were, and I saw you.
Do we have to talk about his height every time he's on? I mean, I must get it enough, you know?
Yeah, but
the thing is, no one can see me, so...
Yeah, the thing is, right, though,
right, listener, whenever Vaughn talks, if you could just sort of speak, like, tiptoe, so your ears are fooled into thinking that the sound is coming from a higher place, and then whenever we speak, like, go back down to regular height.
The thing is...
I'm not sure how headphones work.
No,
I'm not sure.
But the thing is, I'd forgotten how tall Vaughn was, and then I saw him 2 weeks ago or something at the Sony event I talked about last week, and the entire time I was walking with him, I felt like a small child with their parent.
I'm just, I feel like we shouldn't necessarily need to bring it up every time, that's all, Well, imagine you're substituting tallness for any other physical characteristic, and it suddenly becomes quite an uncomfortable conversation.
Well, I don't know about that. Like, he also has quite curly hair. Like, that's not a weird conversation to have.
And also sexy.
It might be quite weird if you're like, I'm always astounded by how curly your hair is.
That would be weird. I will give you that. Yes, you are quite sexy as well, Vaughn.
You see?
We'll concede that point.
There is that.
On this week's podcast, we are going to be talking about free-to-play in the form of Clash Royale, and maybe just free-to-play in general. Me and Kev are going to be doing a little bit of chatting about that. Kev, you're talking about Nova, is it Nova-111? That's what you're going to be chatting about?
I actually don't, I was thinking about this, and I don't know how to pronounce it. Nova-111? That's how I've been saying it in my mind, but saying it out loud, it's quite cumbersome.
111 seems it is probably that, because Nova-111 also sounds super weird.
Yeah, it's not the 111th game in the series.
Yeah, Nova-111 seems more probable.
Could be Nova 3.
Vaughn, you are going to be talking about a game called Merged, I believe, on iOS.
I am, yeah.
And also, I will hopefully be talking about Rusty Lake Hotel, which is a game I've been playing a little bit of today because it was super cheap on Steam. But before we get to all of that, it is, of course, time for this week's news. In this week's news, I'd probably be upbeat, really. I shouldn't be so upbeat. It's sad news. In sad news this week, Lionhead are going away, basically. Microsoft said they're holding discussions, I believe, about shutting Lionhead, which means they're shutting Lionhead. And also Fable Legends, which is a game that was literally in, open beta, I think.
Very far along in its production cycle. They're
like, nah, probably not that. Probably don't release it.
It's in the DirectX 12 show reel of planning on showing at GDC, I believe.
Jesus Christ.
Wow, that's awkward.
I imagine them just, don't look at that. We're sorry.
Ignore it.
Yeah, it's sad news. Lionhead have been around for a very, very long time. Yeah. Lots of industry vets there, but I'm sure that they will have every success in finding other stuff to do because people are going to be like, hey, there's Lionhead employees. We should have those.
Absolutely.
And then,
interestingly, they've said they're only having discussions about closing Lionhead, while, alas, in Denmark, they have, in fact, closed Press Play Studios, which was another Microsoft studio, who were working on a game called Project Knoxville, which I don't know if anyone knows what that actually was.
Yeah,
nothing to do with Jackass.
But they said they are sunsetting development on that.
That's not.
That's corporate bollocks, isn't it?
Yeah. To sunset is not a verb.
Yeah, it's just we stopped. We're not making it. Just say we stopped making it. We're finished.
Just tabling it for now, guys. We're offlining
that means they can pass it on to someone else if they wanted to. So why they don't say it out loud.
It's a shame. Of course, Press Play were the people behind Max: The Curse of Brotherhood, which was a solid game, I think. If I recall, that seemed to be fairly well received. So it is a shame that Microsoft are being like, nah, don't really like Europe. I think that seems to be the attitude here. No, it's a real shame, and obviously, Press Play is a loss, but Lionhead they sort of seem to be one of Microsoft's key studios for quite some time now.
Tightening of the belt going on at Microsoft.
Yeah. And for them to be going is, it's not good. Not good times, alas, for them. And apparently the Fable Legends beta will be closing on the 13th of April. And you will get a refund if you've purchased any in-game gold, because obviously that would be a huge bummer. Next up, in more positive news, the Chinese Room, who I believe are based in Brighton, Kev.
They are?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have received 10 nominations for everybody who's gone to the Raptures at the BAFTAs. So that's rather exciting news for them.
Congrats.
Hopefully they'll win some of those. It is quite an interesting and unique game. So you would hope they will be at least pick up.
But
a few
is it art?
Categories.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Does it matter? Well,
that's the answer.
I mean, they're up for an award called Artistic Achievement, so it must be.
Can you receive an award for artistic achievement for something that isn't art?
I don't know. Yeah.
These are heavy-hitting questions.
Well, that's just the sort of journalism that I'm into.
It's interesting as well.
This counts as journalism, doesn't it? Right, just talking.
Yeah, just saying words. Done.
Speculating about things.
Speculate wildly. Interesting as well. Her story is up in 7 different categories as well. It's nice to see these smaller games getting a little bit of love. The BAFTAs do tend to be quite good at this sort of thing. Life is Strange and Rocket League are also other sort of slightly smaller titles that are getting support. I mean, Life is Strange isn't quite as small, but Rocket League certainly is. It's great to see those games from slightly smaller teams, the slightly quirkier titles, getting nominations alongside games like Metal Gear Solid 5, Fallout 4, and The Witcher 3, which are also up for the Best Game of 2016 award. But yeah, hopefully, you would expect everyone's gone to the Rapture to. Yeah. I would expect them to pick up even maybe like Artistic Achievement. That seems quite likely. And Her Story, I could see. I think it's up here. Let me just double check. But I believe Her Story is up in the Innovation.
Yeah, it's in Innovation. I think it's in one of best. Is it in Best Game Design as well? I can't remember. I think it is.
That's controversial.
Her Story receives nominations in 7 categories: British Game, Debut Game, Game Design, Game Innovation, Mobile and Handheld, Original Property, and Story. I would think it's got a decent chance of winning.
But is it a game?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
I'm sorry to shoot down your...
No, please.
It's not particularly interesting, is it?
Probably. I'm happy to go with whatever the popular opinion is. So.
I like to ask controversial questions and immediately back away from them. Just going with it straight away.
Yeah. Well, I just think it's important that somebody has considered these things. Not me personally. I'll just put it out there and then accept what people think about it.
That's fair play. Moving briskly ever onwards, Ubisoft have announced that the Division has broken sales records for the company. That is rather good for them. Of course, I only mention this so that much more amusingly we can talk about the fact that people are queuing in the Division.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's fucking brilliant.
So for those of you who haven't seen, there's a screenshot that's been circulating where the NPCs can't...
Basically,
no one can go through
characters cannot pass through other characters. So if you're trying to get to NPCs, like everyone is, you basically have to queue for a bit.
I love that natural human behavior is just taken over. It's like, well, it's not going to work out if we're all just trying to push, okay, guys? So let's just make an orderly line, and he'll see us when he's ready.
Of course, the downside to this situation is that griefers are rampant in the Division currently, with people just standing in doorways. Or apparently there are reports of people forming human shields around the NPCs.
Wow. I mean, this, I think, is a real why open betas are a good idea.
The thing is, this game was in open beta multiple times.
Can you not kill other players then? I don't know.
The PvP stuff is only in the dark zones, so...
Right.
So, yeah, my God.
It's just...
An oversight, isn't it, in design?
I hope they go the other way. I hope instead of just being like, oh, we'll just turn on pass-through, just turn on player killing. Just fuck it.
Yeah, we're sticking with the solid object thing, but you can now kill each other, so...
It just seemed easier this way.
Yeah.
Gears of War story, Gears of War 4 story details is set 25 years after the Gears of War 3, and the protagonist, which was like, you know the guy who's in the E3 trailer who's like ludicrously white? Is like,
can't remember.
Yeah. He's got like frosted tips in his hair and stuff. He looks like he is very 90s.
That guy. He's in all the games, right?
Yeah. He's apparently Marcus Phoenix's son.
Not the guy I was thinking of then.
Yeah, his name is JD Phoenix. He is joined the Cogs, but went AWOL after an unrevealed incident. His closest friend is Del Walker, who went to the same boarding school as JD. Yeah. And also Kat Diaz, who is a lady.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
I find it. This is really weird.
Was that the press release? Like, this guy has all this information, and and there's this person who's a woman, if you can believe.
Apparently, she got a group called the Outsiders, people who lived outside the walled cities that most of humanity now reside in.
Interesting.
This is, we were talking about this own week, and I kind of poo-pooed Tough Cub for dismissing this game as, like, playing up to stereotypes and just trying to get, like, someone from everywhere in. But we have a big white guy, there's a big black guy, Kat Diaz, like, her surname sounds Hispanic, and she kind of looks slightly Hispanic. And, of course, she is an outsider, so... We've got the Outsider. JD Phoenix, given he is the son of the protagonist from the original Gears of War trilogy, sounds like he's the kind of prodigal son, because he's been away for a while, went AWOL, and sounds like he's back now. So the prodigal son trying to live up to his father's reputation. What
he's saying is they've just chucked a bunch of tropes together and hope for the best.
Yeah, I apologise, Tough Cub, for mocking you. This does seem like they've not really put very much effort into fleshing out their characters.
Well, that said, diversity in games is a good thing.
I'm in favour of diversity, but not
I think probably fleshed out diversity rather than tokens would be
this does feel a lot like diversity was something they wanted to be able to put on the press release.
Yeah, we've ticked all the boxes now, guys. Come on.
We've listed all the possible combinations, and we've just created those characters. Yeah. You're like, that's okay? That seems weird. That seems like a weird way of doing it. And also just one of each. That's what you get.
Yeah.
Quickly moving on. E3 is rapidly moving towards the point at which it could be held in a broom cupboard, as Disney and Wargaming have both pulled out. They are both gone from the show, presumably because Disney were like, oh, we didn't make any more Disney Infinity, and that's all we make.
In fairness, Disney don't really need the show anyway. The different type of audience they hit.
And Wargaming are basically like, we released our game. The tanks. It's on consoles and that. Do you want to go play it? I don't really know what else they were going to show.
Probably World of Warplanes, World of Warship, World of something. A war in.
Yeah, but they only really show that when it comes to console, and I don't think those games are coming to console at the minute.
Aren't they? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I've never played them.
Yeah.
No, me neither.
God knows. But yeah, E3, it's getting kind of weird. It's like people are just bailing out. Like every couple of days, there's an announcement. Someone will be like, "Yeah, we're not going to be there." Like Activision, not there now.
Really? I didn't know that.
Activision were like, "We're going to give Sony Call of Duty. They're going to show it." Which just seems just remarkably cheap as well. Just to be like, it's the only game we make is Call of Duty, so Sony are going to show it, aren't they? That's kind of a weird move. When I went to E3 a few years ago, I got to like look at Skylanders, and that was actually kind of awesome. And then they gave me a free Skylander, which then fucking Peter stole so he could gain respect with his nephew.
Did he gain that respect?
I don't know. It was like a super fancy like gold convention exclusive Skylander that was for like E3 and toy conventions and stuff. So I imagine it gained some respect by being like super rare. Dead Island 2 back on. You remember like Jaeger? It was and the whole thing. Yeah, like Sumo Digital making it now. That's pretty
Could be good.
Yeah,
Sumo Digital, pretty good.
Yeah, there was the whole like weird thing where were like, yeah, no, we're not letting Jaeger do it anymore.
Yeah, I didn't really get that, because Dead Island 2, when I played it, was the Jaeger one, and I thought that was absolutely fantastic. Like, so much better than the original.
Yep, but then Deep Silver were just like, no, fuck them. There seemed to be some bit of the business deal that went south that they didn't talk about, because you don't just like burn that bridge without there being a good reason.
Yeah.
Finally, I saved the most interesting news for last. PlayStation VR. We're all excited about VR.
Woo!
Yep. Woo.
Yeah.
Kev, you're particularly excited about this bit of news because you talked about it earlier and you were excited.
Yeah.
PlayStation VR. It's going to be like
it's actually, the news itself isn't actually very big news.
No, it's going to be for the mass market and also affordable.
Two things that I like to hear. The thing is, right, I actually think that PlayStation VR might well end up being the worst of all the big name VR releases this year.
Yeah, it will be.
Almost certainly. But it's also the one that I'm already pre-bought into the most, because I have a PlayStation Eye and 2 PlayStation Move controllers.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's aimed at a different market from both of the other 2 VR headsets. So it doesn't really matter if it's the worst of the 3, because it's not one of the 3.
They're just going to do the same things that they've done with the Move and the iToy before that, like where they just don't have any software support.
I don't know.
We forgot to make games. We're very sorry.
That said,
the catalog's pretty healthy already.
If Tough Cub's prediction of No Man's Sky being a launch title for VR then comes true, then I think that's potentially very exciting.
Sean, to be fair, at this point, Sean Murray has very close to said that No Man's Sky will have VR.
Oh, yeah, because he said it's a perfect fit for virtual reality, right? Yeah,
you're like that's not a yes, but it's also very clearly not a no.
I think it's a perfect fit for virtual reality. I think that No Man's Sky, which is this infinite computer-generated universe, and PlayStation VR, which is a headset that you put on and enter a VR space, is like... It's like you've asked me when I was 5 what the future would look like, said Hello Games Sean Murray. But that's as far as I can comment.
Which is like, for a no comment answer, that's a broad no comment, right?
Yeah, that works really well. That would be great. Wouldn't that be great? I think that'd be great. Obviously, I can't comment on whether it's happening.
It's like, yeah, we should definitely do that, no comment. But also, much more importantly, PlayStation VR, not for children.
Indeed.
No.
So, firmware 3.50 for the PS4 includes warnings for PSVR in the health and safety section, which says you can't use it if you're less than 12. It says the VR headset is not for use for children under the age of 12. You should also review your surroundings and clear obstacles before use. Take steps to prevent pets, children, or other obstacles entering the enter during use.
I'm going to put my VR headset on a dog.
Don't do that. That's mean.
No, that's really unkind. I would never do that.
They put VR headsets on rats, or mice.
Oh my god! I really want to see the headsets.
They put it on. I don't think it's like a headset. I think it's like a little. They project it around the mouse, because basically what they want to do is they want the mouse to be static, so that they can have a mouse solving a maze, and it's running on a little polystyrene ball or something that acts like a mouse ball, so it can that wasn't even meant to be a pun, but so it can like move around the maze but without actually moving, and then it lets them put a little window into their brain so they can see what the neurons are firing and stuff. It's really interesting.
I was going to say quickly that even though the PlayStation VR, the age restriction is 12, that's actually lower than it is on Oculus, which is 13.
Oh,
so those 12-year-olds on their birthday aren't going to be getting an Oculus from Mama. They're going to be getting...
And HTC haven't commented on age yet.
Probably Predator on Blu-ray or something. Kids these days, eh?
Yeah.
I don't even know what my point is
I did really like the bit, like, make sure you clear the area first.
Yeah.
I want to see what the Vive one says.
Hey, if you're interested in virtual reality, there's an ex-colleague of mine and a good guy, all-around good guy, is working on a project called Everyway, which is EVRY way.
Oh, that's clever.
And his ambition, and if anyone can do this, it's this guy. He is to create the closest thing that we can with technology that exists and some technology that's soon to exist to a holodeck.
That's basically what's
a mobile VR thing that requires no extra computer or console, so it's all built in. That has like one-to-one tracking and physical space, like moving around and actually doing stuff, interacting with your environment.
I mean, I don't want to say that this guy isn't going to be able to do it, but it feels like probably not.
We'll have a look at if you go to everyway.com, way.com, then he's blogging as he builds it. So he's only on to week 2 on the blog. But
it just seems like the bit where he's like, also no extra computer thing. That seems like that's going to be the sticking point.
Well, the processing power is done in like the tablet that's essentially in the headset. So yeah.
I'm just thinking the power that is required by like the Vive and the Oculus, you know.
Yeah. Well, anyway, go to everyway.com and follow along there, because if you're interested in VR, it is an interesting thing to see somebody try and do, even if it's not going to succeed.
Anyway, it's time now for what we did. What we did. This week in what we did, it's not time for what we did. It's time for Twitter hellos.
Oh.
I just came to say hello.
Because I didn't.
That's a long news section.
I didn't do them earlier. That was quite long, but it's also quite short, because sometimes our news section is like super long.
Quite long, but quite short. You heard it here, folks.
But sometimes, like, I think it was
long short,
but it was long because we got there were like 7 stories in there, Kev. That's a lot going on.
But each story was short. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like, because we've had news sections that are like half an hour long, but with like 2 stories in. This week, more efficiency. That's what we're going for. Packing it in. Twitter hellos. Kevling says hello. Jimana says muchas gracias.
You're welcome.
That was it. Done. Next thing. Kev, tell us about Nova-111 or Nova-111 or Nova-111 or Nova...
Sure, I'll tell you about Nova-3.
Nova-11-1. Yeah.
So, this was, again, I think, on last month's free PlayStation Plus content. So if you didn't get it already, then it's probably not free anymore. But hey, don't let that stop you. Well, make your mind up after all. I'll do the thing, and then you do the deciding thing, and then we'll see where we are at that. All right?
Yeah.
Good. So, Nova-111 by Funktronic Labs is a 2D puzzle game where you control a spaceship on a sort of grid-based level, which has a fog of war fairly close to the spaceship, and you are basically trying to escape each level. The kind of twist is that it's a turn-based exploration puzzler. So every time you move, everything else in the world moves as well. A little bit kind of Braid-like maybe, where you have to make sure that you're in the right place for when you take your next move, because something will change when you move. And so the puzzles are largely kind of operate around trying to get switches to open doors, which mean that you can get into the next area and all this stuff. But there's also monsters hanging about the place, which also move when you move. And they all have kind of different rules about what happens. Some shoot things, some charge at you. There's all sorts going on in there. You occasionally come across mutations that can operate in the real-time world.
Okay.
And so, like, you're then having to sort of run away or react quickly, which obviously for everything that's not operating in real time, it actually makes everything else speed up as well. So you've kind of got to try and keep a cool head about it whilst avoiding these things. There's a sort of an energy mechanic in there called science. So you can use science to power a variety of tools that you kind of get as you progress through the game. The first one you get is like a laser beam that destroys things.
I do like laser beams.
Up to two squares away from you. I won't tell you what the other ones are, because it's fun to get new and exciting things to play with, especially when it costs science to use them. And science refills as you're taking turns moving around. there's also a different kind of energy mechanic which it's essentially like a stun bomb around you. And yeah, so like the whole thing is it's just a puzzle game where the level design is pretty clever, and there's lots of kind of hidden bits, and the kind of the fictional aim of the game is to rescue all the scientists. So I think the first one you rescue is called Dr. Science.
I mean, that if that's not a case of nominative determinism, I don't know what is.
He was never going to be anything else, was he? Really, let's be honest.
No. Unless I would like it if you rescued him. He was like, I'm actually an MD.
Maybe he is. Who knows? But he talks to you the whole time you're playing. The dialogue, as it's not spoken dialogue, it's just written, is quite funny. Like it's a lot of the scientists that you rescue are all parodies of real scientists. They've got kind of portraits and slightly scientist-like names that are kind of, I can't think of any examples right now. Charlie Darwin was one of the ones, and he had a big beard, but they all say one thing when you rescued them, and then sometimes you rescue like a scientist and it turns out it's just like a bear or a dog, and they don't explain it. It's exactly the same mechanic. It's just like, yeah, that scientist was a dog. Or I guess it might be they may be representing the animals that have been experimented on through science over the years. I don't know. And then there was this weird little thing. I don't even know what it was, and it was just giving like this weird advice. I can't think of any of the advice things, but it was like a sort of a blobby thing with big bulbous eyes either side of its face instead of a scientist, and then just like, yeah, giving some weird advice. It wasn't about the game, it was just like advice. So that was strange. So there's, a few little kind of hidden secrets and things, and at the end of each sort of level, you get each zone, there's like, if I go from a top level down, there's an area has multiple zones, and each zone has multiple levels in. And so once you've completed all the levels in the zone, you get like a grade from A to F on how you did, based on like how many scientists you saved, how many secrets you uncovered, that sort of thing.
All right.
And then at the end of all of the zones in the area, there's a boss fight. So it's not bucking any trends in terms of structure, but it's good fun. And I've come across 2 bosses so far, and they're very different to each other. One boss was very much a sort of panic because it's going to get you if you don't do stuff, and the other one was much more puzzly. Like you can't hurt the boss, but he's not hurting you either. You've just got to find a way how to hurt him. Essentially, you can't directly attack him like you can with other things. By driving your spaceship into them, by the way.
That's just how I attack things.
Yeah, you just drive into them. Or, of course, you could use your laser powered by science.
Yeah.
But you only get, initially you only get 1 charge of science before you have to charge it up again. As you progress through the game, you get more health and more science, like nodes. So
is that like as you rescue scientists because they're just busy sciencing?
No, it's not actually.
Because that would be pretty
like
great.
Kind of these rocks with like treasure in.
That's not as cool.
You get kind of 4 health fragments, and you end up with a new health.
Yeah.
Pip.
I just really like the idea of like you rescuing scientists and then you just like more science.
Yeah, I like that. So yeah, my one criticism that I might have is that I felt like the areas were a little large. Like I was kind of by the time I was in my sort of 4th or 5th zone, and I should add that this terminology is just my own, so it's probably not accurate. But by the time I was in the sort of 4th or 5th zone in the area, I was like, I kind of feel like a change of art style would be nice, because I know that it's coming. I just feel like it's somewhat further away than I feel like I kind of just felt like, okay, I've done the canyon thing now, and I've seen all of the mechanics that it has to offer, I think. So yeah, and it was interesting because when I went out on to play a little earlier, I was about sort of halfway through the second area, and it said I was 44% through the game, and I was quite surprised by that I was already so far in when I'd only seen 1.5 areas like which are visually distinct from one another. So the first one's canyons, and the second one's a sort of science lab. I've just reached the 3rd area now, but I've not been in yet, so because I had to do this podcast. But yeah, it's really good. Like I really like it. I think it's quite a novel take, like the kind of the switching between thinking about things in turn-based stuff, and then like, oh, actually, this is a real-time element that you've got to react to, but remembering that when you move, other things are going to happen as well. It's quite a novel idea, not one that I've seen implemented before. And yeah, it looks really nice. Very kind of vector art, sort of cartoon style. Like the scientist illustrations themselves
are good. It looks really nice.
And yeah, the way that the fog of war all kind of moves around you as you explore.
Oh, right.
A lot of the kind of exploration mechanic is basically smashing rocks up with your ship. And one of the first things Dr. Science says is how much he hates rocks and how glad he is that you're smashing them up with your ship.
That sounds pretty great.
It's good that you're aligned on that front.
Dr. Science is just clearly not a geologist.
He actually is. Exactly, a geologist. He specifies
is that why he
quite
hates rocks?
He also has this weird thing where he talks about his mother quite a lot, like how strict his mother was. So you do get into the head of Dr. Science a little bit as you progress through, and he tells you about, but not really. Like it's just weird things.
Yeah.
But I know that his mother was quite stern, and that he hates rocks, and that he's a geologist.
Okay, those are all good things to know, I guess.
But yeah, I thought I'm enjoying it. I think it's fun. It does sound fun. I think possibly better suited to like Vita play. I don't know if it is actually on Vita, if it's crossplay or anything.
Oh, right.
But because my commute to work is on foot and it's only 10 minutes long.
Yeah, you can't really...
Doesn't really suit Vita play. But yeah, even on PlayStation, I think, the art is gorgeous and it's obviously in full HD. I don't have to say that these days, do I?
Not really.
Kind of an expectation.
Yeah. Kind of people aren't being like,
it's in half HD.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
Yeah, but it's good. Well done, Funktronic lads.
It does sound really interesting. Yeah, I definitely want to give it a try. So, Kev, I'm glad you told us all about that. But in important news that I've just noticed, Spider-Man is in the new Civil War trailer, so that's kind of cool.
Oh, really?
Who plays
him?
Yeah.
Do we know who's playing him yet?
Tom Holland.
Name doesn't ring a bell.
He was previously in How I Live Now. Sounds like that's the main thing he's been in.
Never heard of that.
That's the only one of them I have heard of. He was in The Impossible, How I Live Now, Locke, In the Heart of the Sea, Pilgrimage.
Locke?
Locké.
Yeah, but Locke was just... Oh, he must have been a voice actor, because he was Tom Hardy.
He was a character called Eddie, and was also on TV in Wolf Hall. And was in Billy Elliot the Musical. He was Billy in Billy Elliot the Musical for a couple of years. Let's wait for Kev to finish watching this trailer.
I'm really enjoying how much conflict there's going to be just generally between Stark and Rogers. Just obviously, because that's what it is, but you really don't want them to fight,
I wouldn't mind seeing the grin get punched off Tony Stark's face.
Is this a Captain America film or an Avengers film?
Captain America. It's called Captain America Civil War.
But I don't really understand why they're all now differentiated with different character names when they're all in the same fucking film anyway.
I don't know.
Like, just call it another Avengers film, because they're all in it. So.
But it's not really about them avenging.
The Spider-Man costume looks terrible.
His eyes are weird. Have you seen the thing with his eyes?
Yeah, like where he squints.
It's like in Deadpool, isn't it?
Yeah, but like worse. I don't know, that one shot isn't enough to know, but that costume, bleh. Don't like it.
Anyway, yeah, Spider-Man trailer, cool. It's all goodness. Let's talk about Clash Royale, Kev.
All right,
it's pretty good.
It is surprisingly good, isn't it?
Last week I was all like, it looks super dumb, and I played it, and it kind of is super dumb, but I kind of like it as well.
What's
it's the first
about it?
So it's completely different. It's a completely different game. It just has the same characters. It's more akin to like a super simple MOBA or something like that, maybe?
Well, it's like half tower defense and half card battler.
Okay.
So you've got these...
I guess it has got MOBA. It's got some MOBA elements, but it's not quite MOBA, because MOBA you tend to be like one person.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. But yeah, so there's 2 lanes, and you've basically got to try and destroy the enemy's towers by sending one of 8 cards units down the lane.
No, but to be fair, there's not necessarily 2 lanes because like you got flying units.
That's true, which ignore lanes.
And also, later in the game, I've seen you get like the pig warriors. Like
the hog riders, they're the worst.
And they can just jump the.
So
basically,
every
the reason
arena,
there's lanes is just like 2 bridges over a little river, and the hog riders can jump it.
Yeah, they also ignore all troops and go straight for your towers.
Oh, really?
But
giants do that too.
They do, but giants do it slowly. Hog riders just sprint there.
Hog riders give no shit.
Yeah. So yeah, the game itself is only PvP almost. Only the kind of training stuff at the start is the only time you're not playing versus other people. And I thought I would be really resistant to that because I don't really like people and playing with strangers. And so if there's an option to sort of do a single player mode, I will almost always take it. But the fact that it drops you in straight away and it's like, well, this is what our game is and this is how you play it and here we go. Actually, I think it's really positive for it because I'm now kind of fully into it and emoting along because there's a very simplified emote system where you can say one of, I think, 8 phrases or give one of 4 king emojis because the king is sat on the back of the castle, which is like the 3rd tower behind the other 2. And so the emojis you can do emojis. That's entered modern parlance, hasn't it? The emotes that you can do is like a thumbs up, laughing, a crying, and an angry face. And then the key words you can say are like thanks, wow, good game, good luck, well played. So all kind of positive interactions. But people being people, there's always oops is one as well. There's always a way that you can get your sort of trolly message across through your actions by like, say you suddenly destroy their towers in a really kind of swift and unexpected move. You could say oops and then do a laughing emote and then good luck or whatever. You know, you can combine these things in a way that's fairly trolly. And I always assume that anybody, even if they're saying nice things, is kind of taking the piss.
Yeah, so do I, really.
And it could be that they're just being nice.
Can you not play with friends, or do you always play against strangers?
So if you're in a clan, you can play friendly matches against people in your clan, but otherwise you are just being randomly matched.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not random. It's like it tends to match you against people your own level, sort of. But then if you go on a hot streak, it seems to assume you're way better than you are.
So the way that it matchmakes is through the use of trophies.
Yeah.
And so when you win a fight, you earn trophies. Well, actually, you take trophies from the other person.
Yeah. No, you definitely earn trophies though, because I think if you lose, you only lose like 20.
I think it's different. I think it's dependent on the difference between the 2 people. I've definitely read somewhere that the trophies that you lose are the same amount as the trophies that the winner gets.
But surely then if everyone... But there's no way the total number of trophies in the system can't go up then.
Yeah.
So, but if everyone starts on 0 trophies, that means there must be people with negative trophies.
That's true. That is true. Okay, well, something happens anyway. So the matchmaking is based on your trophy level rather than any kind of XP or levels that you've got going on.
Yeah.
So you can
that is
occasionally
basically levels, really.
Well, yeah, except that there is also XP in levels, and what they do is give your towers better attack and defense stats as you level up. So you can face off against a level 6 and you're a level 4. If they've been doing particularly badly and you've been doing particularly well, then you can end up in quite tough matches because their towers are so much stronger than yours. But yeah, the kind of core of the game is finding out which cards do what sort of thing and how to counter those things. So there's troops which go along the ground. There's like air troops as well, which the ground troops can't attack. And then there's sort of buildings which will act as a distraction for some of the sort of the more tanky building smasher type things. And finally, there are spells which don't traverse along the paths. You can just cast them wherever you like. Things like fireball or a freeze spell. There's kind of a rocket. There's a barrel that's got goblins in it. So there's a few different things. And yeah, it's surprisingly addictive. And it's free to play, which is again, kind of why I guess I say it's surprisingly fun is because it's free to play and obviously has a reputation for being kind of money churners. And it's quite obvious. It's quite barefaced about like wanting money from you, but not in any sort of standard tropey way. Like it's never got pop-ups saying you should watch this or anything like that. But the way it does it is that when you win a fight, you get a chest.
Yeah.
And unlike most free-to-play games, you can't open the chest straight away. Opening the chest itself takes time.
Yeah.
And so obviously you can speed up the time using hard currency, in this case gems, which is a really surprising move because gems aren't usually used to portray hard currency. That's sarcasm, and they always are. Or you can just let it wait out. The thing is, you can only have 4 chests, and the other thing is, you can only open 1 chest at a time. And the other thing is, you can't queue them up. So you have to keep coming back to the game if you want to keep opening chests. And so it's quite a good mechanic of retaining your attention.
So I'll tell you the only thing I kind of think is dumb is that you can only have 4 chests.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does suffer from that thing that I think all freemium games suffer a little bit, is at some point the game goes, yeah, you might as well stop playing now.
Yeah. I think it's smart, though, because it's kind of like it's the opposite of an energy system. In that it's like they're not going to actively stop you from playing, but they will. The game heavily encourages you to stop because it's like, are you sure you want to battle?
Yeah, there's literally a pop-up that says you can fight, but you're not going to earn a chest. So, it's
probably not fucking worth it, is it?
Yeah. What's interesting is that alongside those 4 chests, there's actually 2 other chests that occasionally are available to you. One that's just a free chest that's
like every 3 hours, I think,
something like that, and has relatively rubbish cards in. But because you can add cards to each other to upgrade and make them, there's no useless cards.
Yeah, I like that as a leveling up system actually for the cards. I really like
me
that.
too. I think that's smart, and it means that even if you get just another goblin or whatever, you can chuck it on your pile of goblins, and eventually, with enough of those, you'll get better goblins out of it.
Yeah, except the goblins are still kind of shit.
Yeah, don't use goblins; they're rubbish.
Use like spear goblins. Spear goblins are solid.
So, what's saying? Oh yeah, and the other chest you can get is a crown-based chest, and and the crowns are the award you get for destroying towers, and you keep those even if you lose the game.
Yeah.
So if you lose 3 towers to 2, you still get a 2 crown reward out of the back of it, and that adds. And once you've got 10 crowns, you can unlock the crown chest, and I think you get one of those every 10 hours or something like that.
I think it's once a day, but I'm not sure.
Is it? Well, I know that they stack because if you've gone for more than a day without playing, you can come back and
the
unlock
free chests
multiple.
definitely stack. Yeah.
But you have to get 20 crowns, which means lots more fighting. And so it kind of gives you an extra reason to, even though your 4 crowns are still, blocked because you're waiting for them to unlock or whatever, there's still a reason, even though you're not earning chests, you are earning crowns. And so it's even further a way to retain you in the game. And it's kind of interesting because the play sessions in that are far longer than what I've experienced in free-to-play games before, really, like things like SimCity and that sort of thing. Where you go in, you make sure everything's updated and doing the buildings you want, and then you leave again. That kind of my experience of free-to-play games really is you set off all of the timers you need to set off and then come back when the timers are done. Whereas this isn't like that. I'm kind of finding myself in 10-minute play sessions, which is pretty significantly different, I think.
Do you reckon that's because it's new and therefore they're trying to catch people in early, and then they'll update it to change its balance as once they've figured out what works best?
It could be, and I think that there's almost... sorry, you're going to give us a second option?
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, or do you reckon it's because Clash of Clans is so successful? I mean, they announced that I can't know how much they get, a stupid amount of money that they're earning from it, and they have 120 odd million people playing all their games now. So maybe they just don't even need that much money, so they can be more generous.
Well, it could be, yeah. I think that this game is a really kind of fresh injection into the free-to-play genre. I think that it was kind of getting a bit stale, and people were pretty jaded about, things like Clash of Clans. Like if another one comes out that's another empire builder that does, player versus player combat and stuff, I think there's only so much of that people can take. And actually,
sure.
Especially because, Clash of Clans and, in fact, Boom Beach as well, which I think is Supercell as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which are both hugely successful and popular, kind of have it covered. So for them to have released a third game like that, I think would have only diluted the audience of the other games they've already got. Yeah. So this being a significantly different approach, I think is kind of a really smart move for them, because it's using a lot of the lessons they've learned making those games and kind of, engaging with currencies and timers and all that stuff, and applying that in a kind of quite a different and unique direction. So yeah, I think that they probably will change the balance of various cards and stuff, especially when they announce, a new rare card or whatever, and everyone spend to get this new super powerful card, and then they'll probably nerf it after a couple of months because they've got the money they need from that, and so there probably will be kind of fairly cynical moves like that played by Supercell. But I think probably people kind of expect it at this stage, and if they don't, then if they're not the kind of person who knows enough about the genre to expect that sort of thing, then they may not notice it even happens. I don't know. Yeah, but it's like it's a genuinely kind of fun and engaging game.
Yeah, I would say
and
so.
free to play, which is not a sentence I say very often. So yeah.
Yeah, see, I think the free to play mechanics in this are reasonably well done. In that it does, like you were saying earlier, it doesn't overly compel you to spend.
Yeah, I've not bought anything in the game just for
I think the only potential issue that it has at the minute, and this does kind of encourage you to spend, is like just the way that battles can be quite unbalanced sometimes.
All right.
Like I've found there are particular cards that are just tricky to counter.
Yeah, like
definitely. The witch. Fuck the witch.
I hate that witch.
Hate the witch.
Yeah. I really want the witch.
Yeah, I don't have the witch.
I do not have the witch.
Yeah, I wish I had the witch.
But then
that'd be awesome.
Earlier on in the game, I was thinking that like the prince, whose
prince is ludicrously overpowered. Whose
move is basically, if he'll start off at a sort of gentle speed, he's on a horse, and then he breaks into a trot, and if he hits something with the trot, it gets like super damage. And so everyone, when they first get the prince, is just trying to like run for the towers with the prince. But he's quite easily distracted, so if you surround him with a lot of other things, then he'll die before you end up getting to the tower. With the witch, her thing is she's got a long range attack, and it's also area of effect, so she can take out hordes really easily. Like some of the troops are like large quantities of very squishy things.
Yeah.
And she's fine with those. She's like, yeah, whatever, I'll take them out in like a few shots. She can combat things in the air, so that makes her advantageous over a lot of other ground troops. But she also spawns 3 skeletons from her, like on a sort of interval. And so things trying to get to her, any like hand-to-hand troops trying to get to her, keep coming up against other barriers. And so she can just keep shooting them whilst that's happening. So yeah, she is pretty powerful. I would be surprised if they keep her that powerful for very long.
Yeah,
actually.
And I haven't found like the counter card to her yet.
Yeah, she's a tricky one. I tend to go Baby Dragon.
Yeah, Baby Dragon is just
because Baby Dragon is flying and is pretty tanky, so he can soak up a fair amount of damage. And then follow up with a Musketeer. I love my Musketeer. I think
Musketeer
is
good. My favourite card at the minute is the Valkyrie.
I like
the Valkyrie like tanks and does decent. Has got an area of effect, but like a melee area of effect.
Mm-hmm.
And she's pretty effective.
My classic technique is to send a Valkyrie followed by a Musketeer, and then the Valkyrie just walks up to the tower and soaks up all the damage that's going on, and then once the Musketeer's in range, she actually does a pretty hefty punch to the tower.
Yeah, I think what I found that's very effective is giant.
This is going to be really uninteresting for anyone who hasn't played the game.
But giant Valkyrie bomber works quite well.
Yeah, the bomber's good for following up with the giant, definitely.
Yeah. What I like that they have added, and this is nice from a UI perspective, is, and I'm sure this wasn't in it when it launched, I think it's new, is that if when you are deploying one of your units, which is just one of the cards and you just drag it onto the field, if it's near a unit, like you were saying, if like the prince gets distracted by certain units, and there seems to be lots of like pairings up like that, different units will like the Baby Dragon. If there's a knight on the field, the Baby Dragon will basically always attack it. But so what's nice is if you drop something, it'll put an exclamation mark over a unit that's going to grab that unit's attention. So you kind of know if it's going to go and attack someone, which is quite a nice element of it, I think.
Yeah, actually, like the UI itself is kind of worth a mention because it's so slick. Like it is very simple. It's completely not a barrier to any of the things. Yeah. Like some games you play, especially free-to-game, suffer this, I think, where there's so much on screen and so many different controls and various bits and pieces and ways to get to different information. Whereas this is basically like there's a fight button. Do you want to do the fight? And there's a card button. Like, do you want to see your cards?
Yeah, it's well put together.
So, yeah, it is. They've done a good job.
Yeah, they really have. I'm very impressed with it.
I'm going to be honest.
Of course, full disclosure, I work for a company that is owned up the ladder by Zynga, who are pretty famously free to play themselves. And so some part of me goes, "Damn you, Supercell," with a shaking fist.
What really interests me with it, though, is they've got the game loop to the point where I like that game and I'm not 100% sure why.
Yeah, sometimes, especially if you're on a losing streak, you're like, I don't even want to play this. And then the next time you get a push notification saying your silver chest is ready to open, you're like, oh, my chest. And you're back in.
Yeah. One of my friends, because I was before I picked this up, I was like, I tweeted people asking me if I should play Hearthstone instead. And I was told not to play Hearthstone because it's crack. And I got into this and I can definitely see that after playing this, which is obviously a very lightweight card battler, I should not play Hearthstone. I will not do anything else if I play Hearthstone. And Hearthstone, I will definitely see myself dropping real money on it, which would be bad. Because I don't really want to drop money in Hearthstone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I quite like it overall. We might talk about it a little bit more in the future if we advance in it. But I'm enjoying it. I'm hoping I can get to next, because the cards that you can unlock are bound to the tier of arena you are in, which is, as Kev was saying earlier, connected to the number of trophies you have. So I'm hoping to get up to arena 3 so I can get some more cards soon. Be nice.
Yeah, I'm on Arena. Well, I've actually just stepped up to Arena 4, but as what happens quite frequently is that you tend to sort of hover around as you lose games again. You get pushed back down to Arena 3 and then pushed back up to Arena 4. So I'm in Arena 4 now, which is.
Have you got any good Arena 3 cards?
I can't really remember what's available in Arena 3, to be honest. But it isn't, because I've been in Arena 3 for so long. I can't remember what wasn't there.
Also, did you know that have you seen the little cryptic message that there's, because the cards are like common, rare, epic, and there's like a little teaser message that there's a card type above epic?
Oh yeah, I know what the card type above epic is.
What is it? Is it legendary? Or
it is legendary, yeah.
What are the cards?
So there is, I think, 3 Musketeers is one of the legendary cards. I believe it costs 10 elixir, which is the energy mechanic, which you have to sort of wait to fill up in battle. 10 is the most
you can have.
Yeah, so I think that, but I do love my Musketeer, and 3 of them might be quite awesome, but you always want them with something else, so I'm not sure if I'd like that one. There's a Freeze Wizard, I think, so it has the Freeze spell. Ice Wizard, and he has the Freeze spell, but also it acts as a unit on the field, so it's kind of where you'd usually be using the Freeze spell once every, half a minute or whatever. He can keep casting it.
Princess, apparently.
Oh, I didn't know about that one. There's a Dark Prince, who's like the prince, like the normal prince on the horse, but has a mace and a shield, and so he can absorb all of the hit from from the first hit that gets the shield. Or I can't remember because I don't have it, but yeah. I think the chances. This again is a very specific conversation about this game, and apologies to listeners who haven't played it, because it's very easy to kind of geek out about all of the different units and the way that and I think that's actually kind of where its success is going to be, because there's that, and add that to the fact that it has inbuilt like replays and a kind of top ranking replays system, makes it very close to being kind of esportsy. A lot of guys at work are all talking about their decks and like have you seen that one where this happens? And I think
the fact it's literally got like the viewing bit built into it, so you can go and view. I don't know if it's curated or if it's they're just selecting games.
I'm not sure either. It's definitely top level games.
Yeah, they're the the games that are in like the TV bit of it are just, you watch them and you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's kind of gets kind of crazy.
But you get to see the amount of views as well. And I've seen my first one that has 1 million views on it. So yeah, it's being used for sure.
But yeah, I think we'll talk about it more in the future. But now, Mr. Vaughn, you've also been playing an iOS game.
Well, actually, on Android.
Oh, Android. Sorry, mobile game anyway. Called Merged.
Yes, indeed, it's Merged. It's far simpler than Clash Royale seems to be. Which
Clash Royale is kind of weird because it's very simple if you want it to be, and if you want to do well, it does get complex. Anyway, sorry, cut you off.
Yeah, it sounded incredibly complex, but I suppose it is about the depth. Anyway, Merged is Android and iOS game from Gram Games. You probably have never heard of them because they seemed like a small independent developer, but the other big game they did was 1010 Puzzle. May have played or not.
I don't think I have.
So 1010 Puzzle was kind of like Tetris meet. I can't really think, like, you know, space management puzzle game on a 10x10 grid. Merged takes elements from other games like 10x10 did, and it's kind of a bit like Threes mixed with a 3x3 tile matching game. That makes sense?
Sort of, yeah.
So you have a 5x5 grid, and you get given tiles, and all the tiles are like domino numbers. So you'll have 1 dot for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, and so on, up to 6. There's like a dice, I suppose, it isn't size of a dice. You put 3 ones next to each other, either in like an L shape or in a horizontal line or a vertical line. They'll then merge together and create the dice side higher. So 3 ones will become a 2, 3 twos will become a 3, and so on and so forth.
So
you get 6. You get 3 sixes in a row, you end up with an M square. And then if you get 3 M squares together, it turns into a bomb and destroys a 3x3 section of the grid. Removes all the tiles out of the way and gives you all the points of that sum total.
Yeah.
And it's just a high score game. It's just a simple arcade high score game, but it is so goddamn addictive. Like, I haven't been able to stop playing it, and my high score is terrible, but I can't stop playing it.
I'm interested. It seems like it still seems kind of complex, but also simple. I'm a bit confused.
Yeah, it's so. I think at first the idea of like wrapping your head around it is quite difficult explaining it. As soon as you start playing it,
yeah, I definitely know what you mean.
It just kind of makes sense. Especially the tutorial is actually quite good, so it really works well.
Yeah, I mean, even Freeze is a little bit like that. Yeah, like it sounds weird if you explain it to someone, and then you play it, and you're like, "Oh, this is incredibly simple."
Simple, yeah. I mean, with this one, you don't push shapes around; you just drop the tiles in. But the merging element, I suppose, is quite similar to how Threes work. And the scoring element is the sum of whatever you've merged together and add to your score, and you can merge that way. So it's in your interest to merge higher pieces if you want to get a higher score, rather than keeping loads of high pieces on the board to then cause a chain reaction. You might as well get rid of them as fast as you can. It kind of like the blocks don't come just as ones either. I mean, they do sometimes, but usually they come in pairs of 2. And you can rotate those in any of 4 ways, or 90 degrees each time. And then place them on the grid. And I don't know how to explain this.
Yeah.
So when say you have 2 pieces on the grid, say you have 2 4s on your grid, and there's a gap in between in the middle, and then you have a piece that's a 4 and then a 5 next to each other, and you want to drop it in.
Okay.
The best way to do it is to put the 4 side in the middle between those 2 other 4s on the grid, because then they'll merge on the newest block that was placed in, which means you'll end up with a 5 next to a 5.
This sounds incredibly complicated.
It's really simple.
Yeah, you started this segment by saying, I'm just going to talk about something that's much simpler than Clash Royale.
It is. I mean, there's less layers to it, but I suppose it's quite... The mechanics make sense. As soon as you see it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
And the visuals are really clean and simple, and the merging mechanic and the animation is really fluid, so it feels very nice to play. The more you play and your score goes towards your level, and that levels you up, I don't actually know what that does. It doesn't seem to ever be really explained. Just seems to give me some coins, really, and those coins can be used to trade out pieces that I don't like. So, say you get given 2 pieces that you don't want in your...
That's some pretty egregious free-to-play mechanics going on right there.
Yeah, it's terrible, but at the same time, it's only there if you really want it to. I've not spent a single penny. And you can get rid of all the free-to-play stuff by buying the game outright rather than leaving it free. So for $1.49, you can get rid of that and not have to worry about it.
So, but then what happens with switching blocks out?
Well, you can decide to buy them if you want, but by purchasing, the coin goes up 2 times, I believe. So you earn double the money permanently anyway.
Okay.
So it almost doesn't matter unless you always keep swapping blocks out, at which point you probably shouldn't play the games.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we tease you because it sounds weird, but I was thinking, if you were to describe Tetris to someone who's never played Tetris, it probably sounds incredibly complicated.
Yeah, I mean, how would you
explain? That's true.
There are shapes falling from the ceiling, and you have to line them up. But what?
Yeah, that's true.
That's the simplest explanation. I've sent you a link to the app because the images make any sense to you.
We're gonna have a look. Oh, if they don't, you kind of... So I play image, colours... There's still quite a lot going on here.
But it makes sense. It's so pleasingly simple, and it's wonderfully addictive.
I like the review that on the Google Play Store that says it's like 2048 with no goal in mind, 0 strategy goal or anything besides, and then carries on. I'm not going to read the rest. That was a 1-star review.
Of course, 2048, which is 3, which is a vastly superior game.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I know. I'm always very upset when I see people saying some things like,
"Yeah, it's no,
threes is the king."
No. But 1010 was again Graham Games' last game. 1010 was incredibly addictive, and I kept playing that for fucking days on end on my commute to and from work. Where else would I be commuting to? And now I'm hooked on this instead, which is good. I suppose.
I guess.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I guess, yeah.
Got my housemate hooked
you're
on
addicted to a game, I think.
Got my housemate hooked on it as well. And,
so it's not only you're addicted, you're I must spread this addiction.
I need to spread it. Everyone needs to play it.
Yeah.
And you can share your score, which is always great for rivalry. It's fun. And it's got Google Play achievements. I don't know what iOS has. Does iOS have achievements?
iOS has Game Center.
Game Center has achievements,
well,
yeah.
This has its own. So that's also really fun.
Okay. Maybe I'll try it if it's available on iOS. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it is available.
No one is releasing games exclusively for Android. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Rusty Lake Hotel. Rusty Lake Hotel is a game that is currently available on Steam. It's about £1.59, £2, something like that. It's really, really cheap. It's kind of weird because it's actually a Flash game, and I'm pretty sure you can play it online if you want to for free. But it's slightly odd in that I've not played any games on Steam that are actually Flash games before. But anyway, this is kind of your classic escape the room type puzzle, in that you go into a room and you have to do a bunch of stuff in that room with a
bit like The Room.
Sort of like The Room.
You mean that wonderful film with Tommy Wiseau?
No. Less, but more like less like The Room and more like the classic Flash ones, in that it's not quite as I wouldn't say it's not as high production values, but The Room does lots of 3D stuff, and this is very much a 2D game. Well, it's not 2D, but it's definitely not as 3D as The Room. This is actually quite nice, and it's presented in it's kind of a cartoon style, and it's set in the 1800s. I think late 80s. I think it's 1893, and it is set at the titular Rusty Lake Hotel, where Mr. Owl is the owner, and he has invited 5 guests to the hotel, and every night, as he says, there will be a dinner to die for. And so basically what you're doing is you are killing each of the guests every night. But the guests are all animals. So there's Mr. Owl is the guy, is the owner, but I think you kill an owl on the first night you kill a deer on the first night. Yeah.
I was saying it's a cannibal as well.
So you kill a deer on the first night, and then basically you're given a menu every time. You're given a recipe for the meal for the next night, and you have to go and find. So there's it seems to be there's a lobby, and one of the ingredients for the meal is in the lobby somewhere, and so you get that, and then you have to go out to a room to get the meat, and the meat is the animal guest you're killing. So the first night it's deer, and the second night, which is where I am currently, I think it's rabbit. No, sorry, I've just done the rabbit actually. And the rabbit is the rabbit is a magician. So you go into his room and it's kind of all magic themed. And I was talking to Vaughn about it before recording it. It gets a bit weird in that, like, at one point you give him a hat, and you get the classic rabbit from a hat thing, but because he's also a rabbit, he takes the hat and pulls his own head out of it, and his head disappears inside his collar, and he pulls his head out of the hat. It's very odd. But yeah, it's kind of like the classic puzzle mechanics thing, but so classic escape room puzzle, and there's like a bunch of stuff in the room, go and combine it all to solve everything. But it's nice. I kind of just, it's a very simple game, but I'm liking that they've kind of couched it in a little bit more of a story than those games normally get. I mean, obviously The Room has a story that's completely fucking bonkers. This is less insane than that, but
even though it's about cooking animals.
Yeah, but The Room is about like extra dimensional beings.
That is true.
Yeah, see, it's less insane than The Room. But yeah, I really like it. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm not super far through it, but for like a cheap, really cheap Steam game, and I'd rather pay them for it than play it online, because I think it's worth paying for. And to have everything available, to have all these little puzzles in it that are quite well structured it's really nice. There's not a lot to say about it, but the presentation, I think, is what's appealed to me, because it kind of, the art style matches the period perfectly. I think is what I'm trying to say here. And the other game I want to play that's kind of similar in a way is a game called Avery Attorney. Do you like it? I haven't played it. I played it at Res last year, but I haven't played it the release version.
Was basically what I played, and I just loved it.
Yeah, it's really good. Which is similar in, I think it's set in sort of maybe in 17th century France, I think that one is. Something like that, yeah. And it's kind of drawn as kind of like period cartoons, and it really works. It's brilliant. But again, that is all animals, but it's animals like in court, and it's kind of like Phoenix Wright, but if everyone was a cartoon animal. It's pretty great. But I need to play that, but that is slightly more. I think it's about a tenner on Steam. But that is out now, which I did not know. But yeah, anyway, I would advise going to play Rusty Lake Hotel, because it's fun. It just is. If you like those escape the room puzzle games, it's nice to have one that is wrapped up in a little bit more meta context. I mean, again, not as much meta context as The Room, because The Room is all meta context. Particularly The Room 3 is like, it's got a fucking overworld and shit going on.
It's got callbacks in it as well.
Yeah. The Room 3 is a fucking weird game.
Multiple endings as well.
Yeah, did you get all the endings?
Yeah, I've done it.
Did you have to do what I do and look up a guide to get all the endings?
No, I found the pieces, the extra bits all first.
Oh, okay.
And then didn't know how to not get the right end, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Some of them are difficult, like boy, that to get one of them, it is fucking complicated.
It's something like finding a screw somewhere.
There's a lot of back and forth in one of those endings, where you're just going back and forth between like different bits of the game constantly. It gets a bit intense, but I like
exploring.
The room is kind of the high standard. Like, I don't think there are any games like that are that good.
Yeah, it's up for a BAFTA as well. Call back to an earlier news story.
Good.
Good work. Good. You should do podcasts.
It's what I aim to do.
Anyway, there are no questions this week, so that is going to do it. If you would like to send us questions in the future, you can email us at podcast@TheSixthAxis.com, or you can tweet us at TSA Podcast. If you'd like to get old episodes, you can go to YouTube, or you can go to TheSixthAxis.com. You can also go to iTunes or Stitcher. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can get me personally on Twitter as HalPro. It's HALB Pro. You can get Kev at KevinTraw400, and you can get Vaughn at StarFox118, I believe.
That is correct. You always ask.
Yeah,
you always know.
Because you've got numbers in there. I can't do numbers. It confuses me. But anyway, that's going to do it for this week. So say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
The Sixth Axis Podcast.